mean, this is a question for you, but for all of you, really. I mean, on Twin Peaks, there was quite a large cast that were quite young, yourself, and Dana Ashbrook, and Laura Flynn Boyle, and everyone else. But there was a kind of another strata of cast who were kind of more mature, shall we say?
We call them the veterans.
So, I mean, was there a lot of socialization between the two groups?
Yeah, definitely.
And how wild did the younger cast get?
Wild. Pretty wild. With the young cast would run around set, we would all, play practical jokes and hide in the back of scenes, like wearing a lampshade on our head, hoping that nobody would, notice us. So we would like run around like dumb little kids, but we really, we all got together, and
we used to get together every week and watch the show, because we weren't given scripts after the first couple of shows. We weren't given full scripts, we were only given our scenes. And we also weren't allowed to be on the set when anybody else was in scenes that we weren't in.
Which is why we were like sneaking around wearing lampshades trying to see other stuff.
So it was a lot of fun. We'd go to each other's houses. I remember specifically Dana Ashbrook had a party one night for the last episode of the first season. And like I say, we didn't see anything ahead. We didn't know what was going on. And I don't want to spoil this for anybody who hasn't seen the episode, but when Deja Cooper got shot, we thought we were out of work.
Ian, one of the episodes that we watched this afternoon was the one where Leland died. It's extraordinary. The one thing I'd actually forgotten, that in the middle of that incredibly intense scene, suddenly cuts to the interview booth with you and Andy and Lucy having quite a ridiculous conversation about fatherhood. And one of the lovely things about Twin Peaks is that it can do really intense, visceral drama and really ridiculous comedy in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So, I mean, was that something that appealed to you? How did you feel about coming on as a fairly kind of light-hearted figure, a fun sort of character into a relatively serious?
I really didn't. We didn't read a script, and we didn't really know. I mean, there were days I'd show up and I'd done soap operas before, and here I was in the middle of this little soap opera triangle with Lucy and Andy, and it was kind of funny, and I'd kind of bounce into the makeup room, and there'd be buckets of blood and fingernails and stuff, and I'd be like, what the hell is going on here? We were never involved in all of the kind of the creepy, dark, other stuff. So I had, it wasn't until I'd seen the show, afterwards, I guess we all came together, I was like, oh my God, this is really it was very interesting, and also with the whole comedy stuff, and I kind of trusted that I was in good hands and could be this very kind of broad, sort of goofy, kind of silly character, when all around me was just kind of mayhem and all this stuff. So I loved it. I went along for the ride, and I loved every single second of it.
I think we all felt very similar in that we just did whatever David asked us to do, whether we understood it or not. Because he had
whether he understood it or not. We did.
No, but I really think he did. That was the thing about David's, the way his mind worked. He did have an overall picture of what he wanted it to look like, and maybe especially to what it sounded like. So he was very involved with the sound. It was very specific and very eerie. And especially that wonderful music, it really led you into the kind of, oddness of some of the scenes.
I actually had a question request from that gentleman sitting on the front row over there. He asked me to ask you, how did you keep a straight face during the scene where...
Cigarette and meatloaf?
Yeah.
We're here for you, Bobby. Because you had to set that up. I didn't know how they were going to do it. I really didn't. I thought, are they going to just keep throwing cigarettes? No, they did a good job. Thanks.
Obviously, the show completely exploded during the first season. I mean, you were on the cover of Rolling Stone. How did that kind of fame overnight feel?
you know, I mean, for me, it was shocking. It was really shocking, you know, coming from a small town, Reno, Nevada, and going to, you know, Hollywood and wanting to become, you know, big famous actress. All of a sudden, I was, like, you know, within a year. And it definitely shocked me and made me go, whoa, wait a minute. I don't know if I'm comfortable with the celebrity part of it. But I also had started in modeling, and so to be on the cover of Rolling Stone was pretty great. And to be the first actors to be on Rolling Stone, it was fun. It was really a lot of fun. But there was a lot of it that was pretty shocking that I had to get used to pretty quickly.
Can you think of any good examples?
Of the whole celebrity part of it?
Yeah.
Well, just when we would go to New York and, you know, appear on like Donahue and, you know, the different junkets and stuff that we would do, just literally you would leave one venue, and by the time you got to the other venue, the mobs of people that were at the first venue with you beat you there. They were already there, like they already knew where we were going, and you know, it was just like this sort of, there's frenzy around it, and you know, to be from a small town and all of a sudden thrown into that was pretty shocking.
Ian, you were obviously a TV veteran to some extent by that point. Can you talk about some of the similarities and or differences between working on Twin Peaks as opposed to, you know, The Bold and the Beautiful, or, you know, a soap opera that you may have worked on?
Well, it's
One soap opera to the next.
one soap opera to the next. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I remember like doing kind of press for Twin Peaks and doing some of the like Dennis Miller and shows like that. And they said, "Well, what's it like, you know, to be finally out of soap operas?" And I said, "Well, I'm not. I'm like still in a soap opera. It's like I'm doing like a soap opera, but." I wasn't one of the vets on, because, you know, the entire cast of West Side Story was on Twin Peaks, and they were the vets.
Yeah.
So I still kind of, I wasn't, you know, there was the wonderful, like, younger people who were there, but I kind of, like, fell in the middle, like, someplace. I didn't. Now, the show I'm on now, I'm considered to be a vet, which is kind of shocking, but yeah, I didn't, I never, it was, I think because the whole experience was new, like for television it was great. I mean, it was like a whole, like, you know, David sort of opened the door for many shows that came afterwards, like Northern Exposure and Picket Fences and things like that. And of course, when anybody would say to David, you know, you've kind of, it wasn't for you, there wouldn't be these shows. And he said, well, if there hadn't been Wagon Train, there wouldn't be me. So, it's, you know, everything is kind of like and that's, you know, I just felt like just part of something that was just, you know, moving forward.